Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Teacher Transition Expert Series. Today, we have the pleasure of being joined by Locha Brooks. Locha is a former educator turned professional development consultant. Her agency is called First Class Educators. In this episode, we talk about all the tips and tricks to make the transition, why Locha started First Class Educators, and some tips and tricks for you to consider consultancy as your next move. So tune in, turn it up, and let's get ready to do this. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Leena Marie Saleh, the Edtech Guru. I want to thank you so much for spending time with me on this journey, for all the support that you give me, and for following along. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and let's get ready to do this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Teacher Transition Expert Series. Today, we are joined by Locha Brooks, and Locha is the CEO and founder of First Class Educator. Locha, how are you doing today?
Oh my God, I am doing so fabulous. I am so happy to be here with you, Miss Leena Marie. Thank you so much, number one, for allowing me to be on your platform and sharing your space. I truly appreciate what you're doing, and I cannot thank you enough. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Of course, we are so excited to have you and your energy. And, we talked a little bit before this, but I said her yellow shirt brings extra energy to, to today's episode. So to kick off today, we just want to first hear a little bit about your backstory and how you got to where you are today.
Okay, so I used to be an educator in the classroom, and now we're doing school consultant. And so just starting from point A, I actually got into education. I don't want to say on a humbug, but I started out substitute teaching while I was in undergrad, and I loved it. And the transition for me into actual teaching, I found out that I was expecting while I was substitute teaching, and I knew that I had to make a decision in college to sustain my life. And so I switched my major from just English major to education. I did English education because I love to read, I love to write. And I was like, oh, wow, like I can just host a whole class with students about reading and writing, and this will be my life. And that worked for a while, and I realized the pay scale was not one that would actually provide me with the benefits to actually live the life that I desired with my family. And so while, still teaching and everything, just seeing different people come in and work with our organization, different consultants, I knew the information that I actually shared, like within my professional learning community, my PLC, was valuable. I knew I had to devise an exit strategy because looking at that pay scale, 30 years was not a part of my life plan. And so I gave myself a hard pause at 10 years in the education industry as far as being in a position, whether I was a classroom teacher or administrator. I went and got my master's in administration, and, I thought about moving up the ranks, principal, so forth. But I did not secure a principalship before hitting that 10-year mark. And I just stayed the course and really, just went full force with my school consultant business, with crafting it and marketing it at year 10, and secured some contracts that I felt comfortable enough to step out there, do it full time. And so now I'm entering year 4. So we're at the 3.5-year mark with the school consultant. And it's going so well that I love sharing this information now with educators that are considering transitioning, because, a lot of times they are transitioning because of the politics, they are transitioning because of the money, but they absolutely love education. And so I just simply show them how they can monetize their skill set as an educator by becoming an educational consultant. So there's like the fast track, of course, a couple of little variables, little bumps in the road between then and now. But I completely love this track, and I love sharing information about it. And so that's pretty much the journey in a nutshell. And we can certainly, highlight any areas of interest.
We share similar kind of like backstories. I was just tired of the financial burden, I guess you would say, of teaching. I too also got my administrative license, and I started to do a little bit when I moved to Texas, and I was like, I can't do this forever. Like, this is just not where I want to live and breathe. And so I'm really glad that we got connected. Obviously, everybody through the power of networking. I can never harp on that enough.
Yes.
But I really wanted to have Locha on today because to really talk about this hidden piece that we talk all the time about. Cedric just came on and we talked a little bit about his own, contracting and the different work and things that he's doing. But I don't think we talk enough about the consulting side and how you can kind of just really hone in on being contractor. I mean, if everything that we read nowadays is talking about how people are actually going to be consultants and contractors, and that's kind of the way that the world of work is kind of moving. So I think it's really just a perfect harmony of time to kind of have you on. So talk to us a little bit about just how, I mean, obviously you started first class educator when you were in the classroom and still kind of working in the education space. So talk to us a little bit about what exactly the work is that you currently do.
So just to break down that piece, because I think it's big, especially for educators who are considering that transition piece and they're in the classroom, they're thinking about some other things. And so the work that we do relates to staff development, professional development for educators in different various positions. Our niche is diversity, equity, and inclusion because I love that space. As an English teacher, I always made sure that I have culturally rich material that my students could see themselves in no matter their ethnicity, just being very mindful of my student population. And so I say that to say that a lot of teachers have difficulties building relationships. And so I really wanted to bridge that connection. And so that is our special area of interest. But while in the classroom, again, I saw consultants coming in, administering professional development, kind of doing one offs and really not having content that was of substance for us. And I knew when I started my consulting firm, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew when first class educators coming into an organization, our name would be synonymous with transformative, impactful, things of that nature. And so I was just very strategic with making sure that I kind of did the research of what I wanted my organization to represent while in the classroom and then, packaging it up and marketing it. And so I attended conferences in which, I could see other people showcasing the things that they were providing for schools. And so just kind of looking at a model or a template by attending conferences and getting the information, staying current with information, I molded that into my organization as well as just knowing what it was that I felt was valuable that I brought to my community of educators. And so now when we go into inside of schools, we kind of look at where they are as far as any type of reform efforts they may have. So if they have, a strategic plan, we do align our services with their strategic plan just to make sure that all of the work that we are doing is in alignment with helping that organization move towards their goals. And so assessing where they are within their plan and then just kind of providing services to move them along the way. And so also, if they've adopted any type of resolution on racism when we're talking about the DEI space work and aligning it to those goals that they may have set forth in there. Very strategic with making sure when we communicate with the district leaders that they know what it is that we're administering to their staff. And so really kind of approaching it from a top-down perspective. You have a lot of people still talking the CRT jargon and not really knowing what that is and just letting them know we're not coming in with CRT, even though I don't have any issues with it personally. Our organization, we really approach it from an assets-based approach. And so letting the leaders know when we come in, we're not coming in with just like a super pro-Black agenda, like, oh my God, you're teaching Black babies wrong. That is definitely not how we take our approach with this, making sure that our staffing demographic resembles the staff of the organizations that we're working with. We just want to optimize our impact and engagement. And so I really take it very serious because I want to see transformation happen. We don't want to offend anybody in this process when we're covering sensitive content. So the work that we do, I am just married to it. And so we do it in such a strategic way that you have some people that in the beginning, they may feel uncomfortable. And of course, we set up norms and, let them know that it is a sensitive topic and that you may have to lean into the discomfort, but, we're there walking side by side with them. and you have educators coming up afterwards, after we've done a year-long engagement with them, like, this has been the most impactful professional development I've had in my 20 years of educating. I didn't think, that I was doing anything or that there was anything that I could enhance. Approaching it from I don't see color, base, and really understanding that some of their thoughts or perceptions or the way that they were doing things within their position could be enhanced and perfected. And so that it just gives me great joy. And even outside of the DEI realm, we also administer trauma-informed certifications from the Youth Mental Health Agency. Some of our counselors and social workers on staff are able to do that. We are able to work with boards of education. And so another thing that I submit to educators, I don't do all of these trainings. Okay. So having a team and aligning yourself with other, I just say master educators to insinuate skilled content masters. Aligning yourself with those people and having a team is how you're going to be very impactful. You don't have to administer all of the content. Just have some other educators that you can collaborate with. And then that way you guys are able to offer more services to school. But like I say, I love the DEI space. So I try to find opportunities where we can do things around establishing equitable practices and just really unpacking hidden biases. So
I mean, I just love your passion for the work that you do. I think that it's so important to find that. But I think you had a couple of hidden gems in there. One, that people that have been teaching for a really long time are coming up to you and saying that it's the most impactful training that they ever had. That's rare, right?
yes,
Most of the times when we sit in trainings, we want to take a nap in the back of the room and think to myself, this is such a waste of time. I don't know what I'm doing because it's not impactful, it's not meaningful. And I think that's really important. The space that you're working in is a tricky space, to kind of navigate. And so I love that you're saying lean into the uncomfortable side
li-
of things because that's
yes.
important. Even with job hunting or leaving the classroom or whatever it is, everything in life, we have to lean into discomfort because when you stay in a comfortable situation, the growth doesn't happen. You may get a little bit better step by step because you're just going through the motions, but the true work never changes. So I think that's really important. And then the last little nugget that you dropped in there was surrounding yourself with a team that also is, like-minded, shares the same sort of values, but is also a master of their craft. And that's like an important when building a business or being in business or just, kind of finding your place. That is it's just so meaningful and something that just like cannot be replaced.
I believe that. And I also, a word you really don't hear associated with educators is creatives. And I truly believe that educators are creatives. And, the more creatives that you have, the more opportunities I think you guys can collaborate on and create and just continue to build. But definitely surrounding yourself with people who are confident in their calling and just willing to share, you can take down a lot. You can certainly take down a lot. I would not be anywhere without my team. If this is not a solo act, definitely can enter consultant on your own. But I just want to implore people that there are educators in your building, in your space, that you can just say, hey, I'm thinking about consulting. I would love to have you as an asset on my team based on, you love what they do, whether they're a history teacher, whether they're a math teacher, whatever the case may be. But just aligning yourself with other, like you said, like-minded individuals is just certainly going to take you far.
And so take us a little bit. So you kind of talked a little bit, you guys are talking to school boards, you're going into schools and delivering the professional development piece, but what does a day in a life kind of look like for you?
Okay, so for me, since I do a lot, I would say, of the back end work, again, having a team has truly afforded me to be able to have a very leisurely schedule. As I mentioned to you, Miss Leena, I do homeschool my children as well. And so the day in the life, I have at this point now, because I need her so much, I have an assistant. And so we meet every day and just discuss kind of what the schedule looks like. And so we look for opportunities. So we kind of vet different opportunities that would be fitting for the people that are on the team, and then kind of just hash out what those details will look like when crafting the RFP. Those are your response for proposals. So just talking about what the semantics will go into those proposals so that she can assist me with that. I just want to be specific, even though I'm going through my life, I wanted to also relate to others as they think about entering. When you are approaching it from a year one aspect or transitioning aspect, this is something that you will do without an assistant and you can totally do on your own. Now we are at scale. So I do need assistance with drafting proposals because we're not just doing when it was just me, maybe one a week, maybe, working on one for 2 weeks by myself. But now since we are at scale, I have the privilege of having an assistant on board so that we can complete more at one time. But so for me, going over what opportunities are available and then working on the language, packaging those together, and then taking calls with people who are looking to transition and start their own school consulting firm or business, whichever you want to call it. We didn't talk about that, but now I do have a program in which I am ushering in other educators to the industry of consulting and showing them how to start their own. And I take a few calls a day just to talk with those people and kind of get them pointed in the right direction. But pretty much the vetting process and preparing proposals is the work that I pretty much handle while my consultants are staffed for the opportunities. I call it draft because I really look at it like a head coach position. And I'm like, okay, I know that Gregory Carr can do this, or, Dr. Porter Walls can work on this, or Dr. Hahn or Dr. Whoever can work on this. And it's just really trying to be strategic with where I'm placing the consultants just based off of their capacity and their assets that they would be bringing to other organizations. So that's what my day kind of looks like. And then in between, my kids kind of get up maybe around my oldest son, he works out with me in the morning. And then when we come, I get on my calls. But then my youngest son, he kind of gets up around 10, 11 o'clock. And then, we kind of go over what his work is that he's working on for the day. And then pretty much like around 2 o'clock, I like to take a nap because I really want
Good
my
for
day
you.
to be done by 2. And it doesn't happen every single day, but pretty much that's pretty much the gist of it. I would say the bulk of your time is going to be identifying opportunities and then submitting proposals. The only way that you are going to get awarded contracts is by submitting proposals and then identifying opportunities to go and showcase your business at conferences or to present on the work that you have done. So that's pretty much the day in the life, preparing those RFPs and looking for opportunities to go and present the work that we're doing.
Yeah, that's really great. And you covered a big gamut there of information, but an RFP, and we've talked about this on other episodes, but it's really important for people that are looking to move into the ed tech or any kind of education space outside of the classroom to understand that an RFP is basically a request for a school district to say, hey, we're looking for this service. We're looking for, it could be anything from sandwiches to trash bags to professional development. It's just basically a way. And then all these providers come and basically bid and say, here's what I can offer. Here's how I can meet. And there's a full, very long, lengthy questionnaire of things that you have to answer and prepare. And so when Losha's saying she does one or it takes her a couple of weeks to do it, they really are quite lengthy. So it's just important that you kind of know that, and going into any space that you kind of go into, that's important. And so you want to win those contracts because that means that the district is going to partner with you or the school is going to partner with you. And they're going to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. And it kind of guarantees your way in. So I think that's really important. So she very much glazed over a lot of things in the process there of building her business. So while you do unplug at 2 o'clock now, I'm sure that wasn't always the case. And so there was a lot of hustling that was involved in a lot of marketing when you were in the classroom. And so it's just really great to see that you took a lot of risks. I've heard you say nuggets of you had to upskill and learn certain things to kind of get to where you are today. And you continue to grow by going to conferences, networking at conferences, trying to present at the conferences to represent the work that you're doing because you're constantly selling, marketing, iterating, and evolving. And your team that you've built around you has really helped to kind of build that motion. But you did talk about helping and taking calls for those teachers who are looking to transition or maybe look to stay in the classroom and just kind of pick up a side hustle around the consultant side. So can you talk a little bit more about that and kind of your process for that?
Yes. So I am super excited to have been just led to start my School Consultant Accelerator program. I call it the SCA program, in which I just had a lot of educators asking about the business. And I never want anybody feel that they have to come work for First Class Educator. I just want to empower educators to know that they are able to monetize their skill set. And so I started the SCA program because I didn't want to keep like repeating myself, like, this is what you do, this is what you do. I'm like, you know what? I have a webinar. It's an hour long. It is full of information for those who are interested in school consulting. But for those who watch the webinar and they're interested in taking it a step further, you have the opportunity to book a call. It's a complimentary call in which we just kind of strategize about where they currently are within their educational career and what are their desires beyond that in reference to or relation to consultant. And so we just take a deeper dive. But I truly created this again because the way that I want to see education reform on a mass scale, I cannot do it alone. And there's going to have to be many others who take that leap of faith with starting their own school consulting business or firm to just assist with where we are now in education. And it's just, we have the mass exodus of teachers, seasoned teachers that are leaving, teachers entering those 0 to 3 teachers who are not being fully supported because you have not so seasoned teachers that are being pushed into these positions that you would typically have someone with experience in. And it's no drag on anyone. It's just currently where we are. And so for those teachers who really are passionate about this work, who really want to take it up a notch, school consultant is certainly something that they should consider again, because as I see school reform, it's definitely going to take a lot of, people with big ideas going into educational organizations and giving them tools and strategies of how they can perfect where they are, and certainly approaching it from an asset base, right? So just seeing, these are the crop of teachers that you have. How can we assist you with making them better? One of the things that we also, do within our school consultant program, I let people know I am not the biggest brain. So even having them talk and exchange dialogue amongst each other and not looking at me as just like, oh, Locha started this program. She's the leader. She's the end all be all with knowledge. I am not. I will be the first to say that I'm very good at curating spaces. And so within our program, you have varying skill sets, content areas, levels of expertise of people. And so one of the things that I do when we even beyond, taking the calls that I take for people who may be interested in transitioning and then moving forward with joining our community, when you do find yourself in our community, there is a time where I just set aside, maybe 20 to 30 minutes for people to exchange dialogue within the group in an intimate setting so they can learn more about each other and they can actually become, members of their own team in their own right and just take down RFPs, those contracts together. So you have community. And it's just something, it really gives me chills when I think about it because when I went into education, I did not envision any of this. And I feel that it is a part of a divine calling. And to see educators come together, or, when we have a call, we do bi-weekly calls for the people who actually move forward and come into the community. And, when they say, well, I have something to share, me and Dr. Brown and Miss Brown, we are actually working on this RFP together. And, me and such, and just to see them collaborating is such a beautiful thing because I want to see education reform at scale, and knowing that I can't do it alone. You have a few people like, why are you showing everybody how to do school consulting? I'm like, there is no lack of work. Like, there's no lack. Okay. And in order for us to truly see change, again, it's going to take people stepping out there, developing their own teams, and really going into these organizations. So the calls are really they're quite wonderful because when I talk to some educators, I've had some people to cry on me because they're like, I watched the webinar and you're just like me. And that gives me, and I'm like, yes, I want people to know if I can do it, like you truly can. And I also want to throw this in there. I was a part of a DSEG program to give you a little bit of context, okay, before I say this comment. I had classes in the basement. That's who you're talking to. A student, you know what you know about students who have classes in the basement. Okay. But I was a part of a DSEG program, but I say it to say truly, if I can attain this level of success, other people can attain this level of success as well. If you just stay the course and just keep going. The only barrier that I see is your mindset. And it's just keep going. You can certainly do it. You can certainly accomplish anything that you desire. But truly, within the realm of educational consulting, your services are needed. And maybe not within your organization. If you're already under contract, okay, If you try to say, hey, I want to present and do a professional development, they're gonna say, oh my God, thank you. We
Hmm.
appreciate you. You'll get your check on the 31st and the 15th. Like, they're not gonna give you something extra. So you might look outside of your organization. But those opportunities, organizations need your skill set, your expertise, your knowledge, and you can totally do it.
Exactly what you just said there at the end is if you offer it in your district now, that is a good way to pilot things
Yes.
and to test it. So that's really good. But you're right. The district is going to be like, cool. Thanks for doing your regular duties.
But leverage it, right?
Hmm.
Leverage it and get that
Yep.
social proof. Record it.
Yep. That's exactly what I was just about to say. And then also just know that once you've piloted and you've tested it in your school and your district, and you're like, oh yes, I'm so passionate about this. It's worked so well. Then you can start even bringing that to like other ed tech companies, or you don't necessarily have to go the entrepreneurial route, although that's what you're doing, right? You're selling your services to someone else, and then that person is paying you for what you can provide for them. The nice thing about being a contractor or being a consultant is you get to have more voice often. Sometimes when you go into an organization, and I'm not saying this is always the case, but if you get absorbed into an organization, you do really have to mimic what their voice and what their mission and vision is. So sometimes you just have a little bit more power when you stay the consultant contractor type of route. So I think it's really important. And I love that you're saying that when you're doing these, consulting cohorts, they're getting the chance to surround and network with others like them so they can then build their community. Cause you're right, there's no shortness of work. And when I was speaking to Cedric the other day, he's like, it's really interesting. I do sometimes coach teacher transitioners, or I've coached teachers in the classroom to kind of help them with like STEM. And that's like my baby. But there isn't any like I don't feel threatened by anyone. And I think that's important is we're not, it's the same thing like with teaching, right? Like these students could come and replace us any day, right? When
Yes.
they graduate and leave. It's not that. It's that we're trying to share our voice and empower them. And by empowering them, then they're empowering others and the work just gets bigger. And I think that that's an important, aspect of what you had mentioned there as well.
So several things. First, shout out to Cedric and Edu Hustle. I love his platform as
Yeah.
well. We met on Facebook through his group and platform. So shout out to him. But what you just said, as far as worried about your students coming, nobody's worried about their students coming to replace them, right? We want to build them up. We want them to be better. This is a hack, Leena, that I have employed in my business. My first two presenters, consultants that I brought on board for first class educator were previous teachers of mine. Okay. One from grade school, one from the HBCU I
It's
attended.
so amazing.
And oh my God, full circle. And so I have now several of my past professors and educators on staff. And it's almost making it hard for me to go back and get my doctorate degree because they all had their doctorate degree. I just sit at their feet and I just learn. And when we have work in a district, if I have to go and do like building walkthroughs and I know that they have a presentation at the end of, a day, I'll try to schedule my building walkthroughs the same day so that I can like go to their PD and like learn from them. It's just like it's amazing. Like I'm still learning from my teachers because they work for first class educators. They love it. They love to do the work. And then so that's like a gym too for those of you who may have teachers who are still, passionate about the work, they're retired. Those are the best ones to like recruit to assist you with your school consultant because they want to see you be successful. And it's so much fun, like working side by side with them. So it's amazing. And I'm not replacing them. Like I am still learning from them. So that's how
Hmm.
that works.
Yeah. And I think any good community you learn from each other. Like even if two people offer the same services, it's the work is not always best done alone, but best done with others. So I think that's really exciting. So in addition to the work that you're doing in the consulting services and things that you're doing, is there any specific, tips or tricks or anything like that you would give an educator who is either looking to pursue this work or maybe leave the classroom and try to do something else that you've learned from your experiences?
Yes, certainly. So I think, a running theme of the conversation too is also networking. And I just want to say, like, go out to educational events and network. Talk to other people. go to sessions that you have a key interest in, and maybe your organization being, that's your niche area, and just learn so that you can be at the cutting edge, the leading innovation of that particular topic or content, so that, people can start to recognize you in the room as, oh, I've seen this person there. But the more that you network and put yourself out there, you're going to start aligning to a higher frequency, for those people who don't mind, that terminology. But you'll just start operating in that arena with those people, and it's going to put you out there so people can start recognizing you. So that is one particular gem. And another thing is, if you're still working in an organization, I just like to share this because a lot of times, a lot of teachers don't know there are professional development funds in your organization that you can ask your supervisor for, whether you're in the classroom, so your supervising principal, or if you're in the central office, just ask your supervisor, is there a professional development fund that will pay for me to go to XYZ conference? So that you're not starting out, at a deficit where you're paying for a lot of conferences out of pocket. If you're still attached with an organization, go to these conferences, come back to your organization and just present what you learned. But that is a way that you can, number one, get to the conference that you want to go to. You can network, okay? And then you can kind of scope the scene and see, is this a conference that I can come and present at? Is this a conference I can come and set up at and market my services? Like, you can start to get a feel for which conferences would be best for you to attend. That is like the number one hack, okay? Utilize the PD funds that are available, because everybody is winning. The organization you currently work for will be winning. You will be winning. And then again, the organizations that you're going to help in the future are going to be winning. So that's like a tip outside of, looking at who you can add onto your team right now. Okay. And then, like you mentioned, piloting what it is that you want to do within your organization, and, just trying to collect any type of social proof, any type of assets, and then utilizing your social media space. Like, go on there, give tips about, if you like working with beginning year teachers, like give a 60-minute, we're in the second semester, beginning year teachers, like just know, around whatever the case may be, testing time, these are some things that you can do to energize your students. Like, just give quick tips and use the hashtag. Okay. But social media, that social proof, people are going to start looking at you as a leader, a thought leader in the industry, because you're putting out that content. And don't be afraid to put out, everybody just want to charge, charge, charge. Put out free content so people can consume it and get acclimated with recognizing you as a thought leader. The money will come. You will get paid for your services. So I don't know how many gems there just was, but I just want
No,
to let
that's
them
a
know.
lot of
Like,
gems right there. I think the PD one is important because I think a lot of districts covet that often. Like
yes,
they covet the funds and don't necessarily do it. But if you good tip is to get networking in your own district and find the right person to talk to and be like, hey, I'm really interested in this and I really want to do this in my classroom or my building. What are your thoughts about me going to this conference? Like, really start to just finagle it a bit within there, because there are actually funds that are designated in most districts or most, organizations, whatever you're working for, that will have a little bit of funds. That's a hidden secret that I don't think a lot of people actually know. They do save that for the training that you receive from different products or different things like that, like for Locha to come in, that does come out of the PD budget, but they do have an allocation for teachers. Most times they don't use it for teachers. They use it for, for you to go to a conference. But I think that's a really good tip. So definitely finagle those relationships in your own district, in your own organization. And you'll be surprised that often they'll either pay for the conference, they may not pay for your travel. There's certain restrictions there, but a little bit is better than nothing.
yes, certainly. And you never know. I was fortunate. One district paid for everything. So registration to the conference, the travel, lodging, per diem to eat. And then when I came to Texas, it was like, okay, now we'll pay for your registration. No, we'll give you the day off. That's what it was. I only got the day off.
Mm-hmm.
It was nothing else. It was nothing else. And I was like, I'll take it, So like you
Yeah.
said, something is better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, just like you said, talk to some people within in the district that you are in, or organization that you're in, and see what they have available.
Yeah. And the other hidden gem that you had said was about the social aspect. So we know the networking is important of everything that we do, but oftentimes, people think, oh, I need to post, I need to do these certain things, but actually we do need some portfolios or some sort of whatever. So like actually the social space is a really great one for that. And teacher talk is huge. The IG reels and that same thing is really big for building community that way and sharing just nuggets of whatever. Like just take to the camera. I know it's nerve-wracking to put yourself out there because I've been there, you've been there, but you're doing it every day in front of your students anyway. So just take it and just chop it up and share a little, nugget of information. And that can go way farther than you could ever know. And kind of that ability that you have to kind of leverage that too is important. This was so much fun. And I've really enjoyed your passion and, just sharing the other side of the business that we don't often talk about, which is that consultancy, that contract work, and kind of building that up for educators, because it is something that you could do in the classroom. You could do so well at it that then you leave and you can have your own consultant firm and you can have other people that you join, or who knows, you may join and work with Locha. You never know where you'll get yourself, but there's just something to be said for the work that you're doing as well.
And thank you for letting me share that. And I just, it's just so many educators now that seems almost like they don't know what to do, but they have this beautiful talent that's inside. And I personally don't want to see it just go to waste or see them, just change over and go to an industry just for the money when you can literally capitalize off of something that you love, your raw talent. Like organizations will love to have you come on in. So the school consultant is such an amazing consideration if you desire more or want to go further and you don't really necessarily want to go up the track inside the school, as far as leadership, superintendent, central office type positions. You can certainly get out there with the school consultant. And yes, I am always looking, to build. So, that is an option. But again, I started the SBA program because I want others to know that you can certainly do the same thing on your own and have your own dream team. The most important thing with creating an organization is just that collaboration piece. Just be willing to collaborate with others because you'll be able to get more done and also be data driven. I just want to say that too. So it's one thing to say,
That's, you're speaking of my soul.
hey, we can come in and do X, Y, Z, but make sure that you are collecting data. I love outsourcing our data third party so they can know we're not manipulating our data. There's no way we can go in on the back end. So just make sure that you are data driven, that you have that proof, and just be willing to communicate, adapt, change, innovate. Just all of those different things are going to take you so far. And just be confident in knowing that you can absolutely do it. It's okay. You can do it. And the transition part, I still gave it 110% when I was in the classroom. I still gave it, even knowing that I was transitioning, that I already had contracts lined up, like I still gave it 110% because at the end of the day, we're doing it for the babies. We're doing it for the students. And I love my students. It was almost like emotional, leaving them and making that decision. But I knew that I would be impacting a multitude of students by serving educators on this level. And so just stay the course and know that like you mentioned, you can do both. You can just jump out there and just go full speed ahead and do your own thing, but you can certainly just do something. You can certainly do it.
Yep. Just do something. That's exactly it. Well, Locha, thank you so much for coming on today's episode. And as always, all of these details will be down below in the episode notes. So make sure if you're not already following her and, checking out the SCA, that'll also be down below. So I definitely recommend that. Locha, thank you again so much for coming on today.
Thank you. And you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. And we'll see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. You've made it this far. We are so thankful that you're here. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, thumbs up, comment below, and join us for all of our next videos. Thank you so much for joining us as we disrupt education together. See you guys soon. Bye, everybody.